Meeting to order for the Common Council, City of Hudson, our meeting November 10th. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Mayor Knudsen?
Here.
District 1 Morset?
Here.
District 2 Brokaw? Here. District 3 Bernard? Here. District 4 Wyland is excused. District 5 O'Malley?
Here.
District 6 Burchell is excused.
Thank you. At this time, we take comments and suggestions from citizens present. If anyone here would like to speak and address the council about any item that's not listed on our meeting agenda for tonight, this is your chance. So I know there's a few of you here. I think in general, what we do is if you've got an item that you want to have on a future agenda, as I'm sure you do, I'd ask that maybe one or two of you speak and kind of bring the item to our attention, and then we'll place it on a future agenda.
Jim Cooksey, 1020 Crestview Drive. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the council for giving us a few minutes. We're here regarding an issue in our neighborhood that came up really without any knowledge on our part, and really not much knowledge on anybody's part except the parties involved. One of our neighbors has been attempting to sell her house for some time and has engaged in some kind of arrangement with a company who runs assisted senior care facilities. I'm not aware if they have any within the state of Wisconsin at this time, but she does operate in Minnesota, and it's several facilities apparently there. Our concern with this is that what this would turn out to be would be it's not technically a group home, but essentially it's a living arrangement for a group of essentially senior citizens that would be paying a certain amount of money per month, maintenance money per month. There would be somebody on staff there 24 hours a day watching them, not a licensed medical medical professional, but someone who would be available for assisting them, as well as a house manager. So a total of she indicated it would be a total of two residents at this time, and then the two other people. We were not aware that any of this had actually been finalized, and weren't really aware. We've talked to a number of you, as well as Denny and Mr. Mayor and our Alderman Randy. Nobody really had much information about what was going on here. We got some guidance from Denny about what kind of requirements they'd have to meet to be able to operate a facility like this in a residential neighborhood. We're in the process of trying to develop some information and some more, maybe another approach on how to approach this present owner. We happened to see some people on the outside of her home and just asked them to come over and talk to us. It turned out to be the new owners. They're not, well, I should say the owners. They're the new lessors of the property. They had just finalized a lease as this company entity that would lease this house we're not aware of any of the specifics, obviously, but that would be used as a senior facility. According to the statutes, it can be up to 8 people. That home itself is presently not really configured to be able to have 8 people in there, and they assured us that was the case, and she assured us that she would never have more than probably 4 people in there. But our big concern is that we see this as a kind of a foot in the door and a precedent setter in a single-family residential neighborhood, whatever she may have in mind over the next 5 or 10 years. We're concerned that it's going to be something that could be used as a precedent for future approaches that may be more objectionable and not fit in with the tone of the neighborhood and with the fact that it's a residential place with little kids, and certainly the current proposal does not indicate any kind of high-risk group at all. These are folks that are mostly going to be within the house. There won't be a lot of screeching tires and a lot of noise. These are obviously elderly people. Our concern, I can't speak for everybody, but my concern has been consistently that this is a bad precedent to set. So we'd ask that we'd like to get something on an agenda for future reference, or for future, whether there may or may not be anything that can be done at this point, to see what we can do about getting this overturned, or at least rewriting or having some provision for the future that would allow us to prevent this kind of thing from happening in anybody's neighborhood in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooksey. What's your guidance for how much we should talk about this now?
I would say really put the matter on a future agenda, and then the people who are concerned are free to contact Denny and provide information to the city. The council is free to gather information, but then the discussion on the situation can be based on information and at a properly noticed meeting.
Yes. Go ahead. Why don't you introduce yourself and give your address? Address.
I'm Todd Erskine. I'm at 1019 Crestview Drive. What our concern is that if it goes into place before the next meeting, is there anything we can do about it at that time? It seems like backing things up is more difficult than stopping them before they occur. I would like to point out that the whole neighborhood is here, except for, I think, three people on the street. The rest of us are all here, and we oppose. I forgot Claire. Claire's in Florida too, but I did speak with David Erickson this morning, and he was speaking for his father. Anyway, I do believe that as a block, as a neighborhood, we are all opposed, at least to the fact that it has happened without any process. None of us have had a chance to review anything about the company that's going in, who they're bringing in, what they intend to do, and what restrictions will be placed on it. There's no conditional use permit that has been asked or granted in this situation, and it seems like it doesn't fit with our neighborhood as far as we can see on the outside looking in. Now, from the inside looking out, it may turn out that this is something that none of us object to, but it does come under the scope, or it feels like a group home is coming to our neighborhood, is how it feels. And of course, with that comes the feeling of a tremendous amount of depreciation to our largest assets. So our concern is that it doesn't seem that there are any licensing needed. It doesn't seem there are any official requirements of any kind that allow or disallow this sort of thing from happening, and we're asking for a process. So we're here to ask, what can we do to slow this down? Is there injunctive, can we stop them from moving in until there is a full review and a process can occur?
Well, that's a question, and questions posed during the comments and suggestions from the public are not always answered at this meeting. Part of the reason that you may not be satisfied by that is just because of our limitations of the open meetings law. If the item isn't on the agenda, then we're constrained, as much as I'd like to talk about this right now, we're constrained by that. So when the question hangs like that and you're waiting for the answer, that's the reason. It's not through a lack of desire for us to talk about it tonight. But I would say this to you, that when I first heard about this, I asked our community development director, Denny Darnold, about it. He was already in the process of researching it because he'd been contacted by Mr. Cooksey. And we have done some research. I'm sure all of you have now too. You probably know as much about that state law and some of the exceptions there are and so on. There are times when we have lots of local control, and we generally exercise it pretty much to the extent of our ability to use local control. And there are times when the state has preempted our local control in the interests of what they see as the greater good. This will be the question, is whether we have local control. We need to find that out. Catherine's probably going to need to render an opinion on that. If it turns out that we see some urgency, we don't necessarily have to let this go until 2 weeks from now or whenever our next meeting is. I guess, is it 2 weeks from now? I mean, if there's something urgent about it, we could get together and have a meeting to do it. But we'll look into it, and we'll keep you all aware of what we're finding out. And part of the challenge last week was, just as you said, there's an awareness that somebody is working on a plan, but it's not the kind of thing that we can respond to before the fact. Like most things, you have to wait until something actually happens, and that's when it becomes a matter for public officials to deal with.
A lease was signed this evening.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that did occur. And I guess as a measure of urgency, public safety in this particular situation, we learned from the owner of the business that will be running the group home that one of her clients is wheelchair bound, and none of the doorways in that home will accommodate a wheelchair. The hallway to the bedrooms and the bedroom doors themselves are certainly not wide enough for a wheelchair. There aren't any ramps to the exterior of the building. Mm-hmm. These are the kinds of things, right? But thank you.
Well, we will, and we may find that we don't have as much local control as you wish we had, mm-hmm. but we do have control over building codes and other things, and so we will look into it.
Thank you.
Anyone here wish to speak on any other issue other than that? Do you all feel like we got the sense of what's going on by listening to the two people that we heard from? Okay. We will let you know as we go forward. If it's on the agenda, you'll know about it. Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is our consent agenda items. Will you please read those for us?
To approve the continuance of the conditional use permit to Bridge for Hudson Youth Incorporated in conjunction with the School District of Hudson and other local agencies to use the residence at 509 Front Street for a community site to conduct school classes, out-of-school and respite activities, and lifelong learning opportunities for youth with disabilities, with the same conditions placed on the permit as originally approved, except with no time period for review. To approve claims for payment in the amount of $1,682,351.77. A detailed description is available in the clerk's office on request. To approve change order number 3 in the amount of $20,418 to Pember Companies Incorporated for the Lakefront Park retaining wall project.
Can you pull that one, please?
Mm-hmm. Place on file the quarterly report of the Community Development Director and the Community Access Board minutes of October 28, 2008. That is all.
Move for approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items with the removal of the one about Lakefront Park. All, roll call vote?
Morissette?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Bernard? Yes. Brokaw?
Yes.
Those items are approved. Next on our agenda would be from the Plan Commission, vacation of a portion of Pearson Drive to correct the street alignment in the northwest portion of the Hudson Chrysler parcel. Resolution number 22-08, and Mr. Darnold's here to tell about that.
Okay, this request for vacation of a portion of Pearson Drive, essentially what would need to be done tonight is having first reading of the resolution. What that does is put a series of events in order, one placement of public hearing notices in the next 3 editions of the Star Observer. Then in December 15th Common Council meeting, there would be a public hearing. At that time, if the Common Council felt indeed to vacate a portion of this part of Pearson Drive, that they could approve it by passing the resolution. This resolution, or taking action on it tonight, first reading, does not obligate the city to vacate the portion of Pearson Drive that's being requested. It only sets the series of events in motion.
Move for first reading.
We have a motion to
Second.
approve with the first reading and a second. Any questions?
Denny, do you want, as part of our motion, the public hearing date to be set at this time?
That would be good. And
Okay.
set time also, I would recommend 6:55 on Monday, December 15th.
My motion is so amended, if it's okay with the seconder.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me. I overlooked that.
Any other discussion? Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carried. Next item on our agenda would be applications for operators licenses.
Mr. Mayor, if I recuse myself, do you have a quorum?
We do not.
Would you probably prefer I recuse myself?
Yes.
Yeah. I recuse myself.
We'll have to postpone these until our next meeting. So that item will be postponed. Next item is the change order number 3 for Lakefront Park retaining wall project. You've got an issue sheet in your packet. Point out to everyone that our finance committee was not able to meet tonight because we didn't have a quorum there either. And so these items that we're going through right now that would have been the finance committee agenda haven't been through any committee work. The issue sheet you've got in your packet comes with the staff recommendation from the city engineer for approval. You can see the highlighted portion on the memo from Chuck Schwartz. Change order number 3 for the Lakefront Wall project was in front of the council, or is in front of the council, for the amount of $20,418. A copy is attached. When this was discussed back in August, the estimated construction cost was $26,220 for the wall revisions, plus $6,885 to raise the trail at the north end, for a total of $33,105. Any questions about that?
So we approved this initially, and then now, once they've gotten this all done down there, we're gonna go rip it up again? Is that how this is going?
No,
This is done already. This is just,
Oh,
you approved up to 33,000. Looks like the cost is
Okay.
20,000, and this is just the because of the amount, it has to be approved by the
My
council.
question is answered then.
Move to approve change order number 3.
I'll second.
If it's under a certain amount, Randy, then I can
Right.
approve it, right?
There's a motion and a second. Yes, by way of discussion, it's already done. The work has been done. It was being done under what the council has approved, but we never formally brought you a change order. It's a little bit of a gray area, but I asked that it come back to you so you can see what's going on. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no, and the motion's carried. And the next item is number 7. Determine a funding source for the light repairs to the Hudson Arch in Lakefront Park. Just before the recent walleye tournament in spirit of the St. Croix, we discovered that the lighted arch sign had a portion that wasn't lighting. And so we spent some money on that. I'm looking for my issue sheet on this. Some arch repairs were done on an immediate basis in the amount of $1,878.80. Those repairs, Betty, have already been done. Okay, but we need to figure out how we're going to fund those in this year's budget. And then,
Number 9.
yep, okay, so it's kind of two separate items, but on a combined issue sheet. Betty, maybe you'd like to tell us what your suggestion is. I know you've got a plan for this.
Normally, if we take and budget during the year, we have, what we have in mind, and we set aside funds for repairs. This was kind of an additional repair that we weren't planning on. Public Works budget's quite tight right now, so we're going to request to see if we could take it from contingency. If not, you can send me back, and I'll try to look for it in the Public Works budget. But at this point, I'm not sure if, 7,000 is going to take us to the end of the year. It possibly can. But these two items that are on here, I'm going to be requesting from the contingency budget tonight.
Okay, so I said I think this might as well come out of contingency. This is another example, and we've tried to delineate exactly where the authority to spend money lies with emergency items. If it's really an emergency, it falls outside of our regular procurement policies. Whether this was really an emergency or not, it was urgent, and I'm glad that they got it fixed. But the question still is, how will it be paid for? Scott, what's your thought?
Move to obtain the funds from the contingency fund, which has a balance of almost $8,000 and will cover both item number 7 and item number 9.
All right. So is that a motion for 7 and 9?
As I said, item 7 and item 9.
I'll second.
And there's a second. Any discussion on that?
One of them's for safety, and the other is our picture poster card, so.
For clarity, let me just read. Item number 9 is the Walnut Street Bridge. There's been some deterioration that is along the edge of the bridge that goes out to the Dyke Road in the area of the pedestrian path. It's been a concern. We had a complete study of that bridge done a few years ago, and a complete overhaul of it was in the several $100,000 range. We've done some patching and repairing, and frankly, we need to do some more because there's a safety issue there right now where if someone were to slip, they could be injured. And so we want to repair that. The estimate to do some iron work and I believe some concrete work, or is it just iron work? Yeah, if you would, maybe you should tell us and tell the audience about it. And the estimate is for $2,205.25.
The area we're talking about is from the south side of the bridge from the east end, about 100 feet. And in that area, the concrete that extends past the railing has been deteriorating, and you can see exposed rebars. You can see them on the pictures. And a little ways back into the sidewalk, the concrete is spalled a little bit. But we just felt if we could get like a 12-inch tread plate, the safety plate, we could put that on the concrete. We'll slide it into the railings of the bridge. We'll have about a 3-inch angle, 2-inch angle. We can weld that to the bridge there, and then we'll put concrete anchors on the good portion of the concrete. And that should cover up the void in the sidewalk and act as a toll plate, so it should be pretty good for a while.
Thank you.
That's just one idea. I think, that was, kind of looked at a few different things, but I think that's a pretty good fix for it.
Any questions, comments? Yes.
We'd like to make one comment that the council should be aware of, since some of our members are new this year. Not a year goes by that we don't have some emergency situation with the Walnut Street Bridge, and we are going to have to address it in some depth sometime pretty soon. This happens all the time.
Mm-hmm. Other comments? Ready to vote? Mm-hmm. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That takes care of 7 and 9. We'll go back to number 8. Consider filling the vacancy in one Public Works Parks Department maintenance position and the part-time deputy municipal court clerk position. As you know, we instituted a hiring freeze. The way that the hiring freeze works is that positions created, vacancies created through resignations and retirements and so on will not be posted or advertised to be refilled until it comes to the council for council approval. And so tonight we have 2. Devin, you want to talk about the municipal court
Right,
clerk?
the municipal court clerk, we have a vacancy, the part-time individual. We've had that position for about 4 years. There is money in the budget for 2008 and 2009. It is covered. It is my opinion and that of the municipal court judge that we should refill that position. In fact, there was discussion in the budget discussion about increasing that position to a few more hours a week, but we should at least get it restored to where it is now.
She requested more hours. Devin's recommendation is to refill it, and my recommendation, frankly, would be to refill it also. I think we had a recent change in our ordinance. It's going to let the fine schedule for certain infractions be adjusted, and I think our municipal judge has done a pretty good job and run a pretty tight ship. So I don't look at this as being extraneous. But we can take these together or one at a time, however you'd like to do it. Do you want to hear about the other one next? The other is a Public Works and Parks Department maintenance position.
We have actually 2 open right now. Technically, one used to be in Parks, one's in Public Works, but now we have combined. And the concern is going through the winter months being short 2 individuals for plowing and that. So at this point, we're recommending we fill one of them and then address the other one possibly when winter's over for next summer. But for now, we'd like to request at least one of them be filled.
If I may add, Devin, that our plowing schedule, depending on the severity of the winter, but our plowing schedule won't work unless we fill at least one of these 2 positions.
Mm-hmm. So again, here, I'm going to recommend that we fill that position at this time. I think Mr. Zuli's got some ideas about how we can make that schedule work with filling that one, and at our next meeting we may be back to talk about the other one, or maybe that one will be postponed. We're going to look at that one a little further before the next meeting.
This position is already funded. I'm going to move for approval of filling both of the vacancies we've just discussed.
We have a motion to fill both vacancies. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Randy?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item number 1 from the Public Safety Committee agenda. Consider additional pedestrian safety measures on Carmichael Road at Burl Oak Curve. Our Chair of Public Safety is not here tonight. The motion at the Public Safety Committee was made by Council President Morissette, and it was motion by Morissette, second by Weiland, to remove the north and east crosswalks, paint blocks in the south and west crosswalks, improve lighting by redirecting the angle and increasing the wattage, and to recommend a crossing guard program to the Prairie Elementary School principal. Any questions about what that means?
I have one question. Is it just an elementary school? We've got the middle school there also, right?
That's that whole school complex up
Okay.
there. There is no sense or sensibility about that intersection right now. So we're trying to clean it up and make it safer. There's really been some close calls up there. And that's why we're looking at implementing what we've got down there, especially a crossing guard program, which they don't have at all whatsoever up there. Anything else I'm forgetting, Lori?
No, I think the effort is just to focus pedestrian traffic on two of the crosswalks. And again, I think in terms of work for the city, it's striping, which we were told may not be able to be done till spring, but that if we change the angle of the lighting and the wattage that's used, that could greatly enhance it. We realize that of all the elementary schools, this is the only one we could think of that has a busy intersection that's not monitored by crossing guards. So it might be something for the school to consider to help with safety.
And I guess my question is how in regard to the safety of the middle school students that are crossing that same area?
Mm-hmm.
The other
And that's where
concern
the
is
lighting
close
was
to the one right by where they come off the walking path off the park back from Grandview and come through there.
And
There's been a lot of close calls there too, so potentially that'd be another thing to discuss with
Absolutely.
school people out there. That might be another
I think
We did, and then it's
Yes.
something we've asked the school to address because it's school property.
Like, Devin, on that subject, I'd like to make a suggestion, if I may, if you'll indulge me for just a second. I was going to put this on the overhead, but we have PC equipment in the Macintosh computer, and it didn't want to take it. So I'm going to ask you to strain your eyes. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I think that we need to enlarge the conversation because here we have Burl Oak Curve, but Oak Ridge Circle is here as well. These children are crossing to get to school. Not up here, but down here. And I think what we ought to consider is the establishment of a sidewalk. Now, this is approximately 1,000 feet. It's about a fifth of a mile right here between these three entrances to Carmichael. And I believe to keep all of the kids safe, what we need to talk about is a sidewalk that extends from here, the southernmost portion, to at least to the southern part of Burl Oak Curve, so that children can take a safe sidewalk to this crossing, which is the front entrance to the school, which is where they ultimately want to go. But being kids, they get up in the morning, they cross right across in all that heavy traffic and run across the field. You can see the paths worn in the grass. And so I think we really need to enlarge the conversation to establishment of a sidewalk. Now, we'd have to hold a public hearing on that because the homeowners would have to pay for that sidewalk. It's a new construction, it'd be 100% on their bill. But I'd like the council to entertain that thought that we increase the safety for all of the children in this area by fusing those three intersections into one, so we direct them to an intersection that should have a school guard. I totally agree. So I'd like you to think
that
about
intersection up there also has a four-way stop, which does help some.
Yes,
so.
yes. Now, we do have the other end of Burl Oak Curve, but I believe kids it's just going to be just as easy for them to go around on the street and then across. Because if they cut across the street here, they're nowhere towards getting towards the school. So I think that we're talking about a sidewalk of approximately 1,000 feet in length.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd have to, as I say, have a public hearing on that.
We would, but I think it's a good idea. I looked at it and thought much the same thing, that it's not an easy thing to go down to where we're going to make it the safest crossing. And I think the issue is we want overall pedestrian safety, whether it be adults or a kindergartner, but our top concern are the K through 5 age children. Once they get to be 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, they're taller, they're more easily seen, and should be better at looking at the traffic themselves. That doesn't mean they always are. But, and you're right, those elementary age kids all have got to go further to the north already anyway, so they might as well have a place. So that, we can't do sidewalks anymore this winter probably. By the time we would get it all done, it's not going to happen. So that's going to be off till next spring anyway.
Just one point to add, and it's not to minimize the need for increased safety measures, but I was surprised the numbers that they gave us. It's between 10 and 15 kids that cross there on a given morning. I thought it would be a much higher number than that. Apparently the afternoon hours are higher.
There's a lot more people that drop their kids off in the morning than pick them up in the afternoon.
So at least the darkness issue in the morning, it's really mostly for middle school students. So.
Yeah.
So it's kind of more an interim, somewhat of a solution to part of the problem, I guess, or part of the solution to a bigger problem. But I would agree with you. It needs to be taken down the road further.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second, or do we? No, we don't have a motion yet. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the recommendation from Safety Committee.
I'll second that. I'll bring this up at a future time.
Okay.
Could I just ask a question of
Yes.
Mr. Zuli, though, of what are you able to get done before, or if anything?
I got a call into Steve Johnson from Excel as far as the lighting issue.
Okay.
The painting issue is too late. The paint is way too cold.
No.
So we can try to work on, see if we can adjust the light or change the fixture for a higher wattage. We can try to look at that. Or would another consideration be adding a light opposite diagonally to that one so we have lighting fixtures in that one area?
In the years that the school has been open, there have been multiple changes made to the traffic pattern and trying to work it out so you get the maximum efficiency and safety. And we can probably work with the school out there and the school officials, because there are more improvements than just on our city side of the street that could be made there.
Yeah. And
Okay.
the school needs to take their part in it, the district.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the committee recommendation. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. The next item is update on projects. Mr. Schwartz was unable to be here. We moved our meeting this month, and so he had 3 different meetings tonight and couldn't be at 3 places at once. So he suggested that Mr. Zuli'd probably be able to answer questions that you have. You've got his update on projects memo in your packet. Do you have any questions? Okay, we'll move on. New business. Finance Officer Betty Crusoe has brought forth resolution number 21-8 authorizing Ehlers and Associate to solicit bids for $250,000 in general obligation promissory notes for the City of Hudson 2009 capital outlay. Betty?
This resolution is to establish the tax levy. When we look at having our public hearing and adopting our tax levy for next year, one of the things that has to be established is the debt levy, and the debt levy has to be established prior to levying taxes for it. So in order to do that, this is the $250,000 that we use on an annual basis for our short-term capital outlay. So I'm asking council to go ahead and adopt the resolution tonight to establish the establish the soliciting for bids, and then when we actually solicit and get our bids back by the next meeting, we'll establish the tax levy at that time and adopt that night, possibly with our public hearing. It's a little housekeeping effort. I do it every year. The only difference I have this year is I employed Ellers to do it. We have a little bit of different banking situation this year with the economy. One of the things that the banks are looking at, normally I do this and then I postpone the money. We don't collect the money until 2009. However, because of the rates right now, they don't want to go out more than 30 days. So we will be getting these funds in 2008 for use in 2009. So just a little different atmosphere this year than we had in the past.
Move to suspend the rules.
We have a motion to suspend the rules towards adoption of Resolution 21-8. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote.
Morset?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Brokaw?
Yes.
All right.
Move to adopt Resolution 21-08.
Second.
Motion to adopt and a second to adopt the resolution 21-08 authorizing solicitation of bids for $250,000 in promissory notes for 2009. Any further questions, discussion?
Would like to point out to anyone who might be viewing this evening, the reason that we are doing this without a first and second reading is that under the current schedule, it would be December 1st before bids were received for acceptance. We have only one meeting in December, and that is on December 15th, so we have to complete this process before December 15th.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no, and the resolution is adopted. Thank you. Item number 9B, consider amendments to Municipal Code, Chapter 59, regarding appointed city officials, ordinance number 7-08. And you have a memo in, actually probably a couple of memos here, but on this one from City Attorney Catherine McKittrick. And would you like to talk about some of these?
Sure.
Would you like me to? Partly this is housekeeping. Housekeeping. Take it away, Catherine. You didn't
answer, Council.
You sounded so.
No, I'm happy to answer questions. I would, the first section is to bring the city code into compliance or to be consistent with the state statute in terms of listing of officers, listing only those officers that are required by the statute. Second part is also to bring it into consistency with state statute, meaning that all such appointed officers serve at the pleasure of the council and can be removed at the council's pleasure, which means without cause. The third 59-5 change is deleting the mandatory retirement age. That would most likely be considered age discrimination, and you need to have something more than just an arbitrary
I think you can strike the words
age.
most likely.
Yes. Well, we always like to.
And we told Jan, when Catherine told me that, we told Jan she was done and she could go home. So.
The third one is the residency requirement, and this, my understanding is that there's been some discussion or consideration that maybe it's not beneficial to the city to have a restrictive residency requirement like that, restricting the listed positions to living within the city. I've not been part of that discussion, so certainly you should discuss it. And I mean, it's a hiring issue. Sometimes comes into play, and someone may not be willing to move into the city. I'll answer questions. I did say in my memo that you could do a first reading. I guess I would prefer, if you're comfortable with adopting it tonight, that would be my preference. Just to make it, you're also going to be reviewing an employment agreement tonight, and then the ordinance is consistent with what it will be under the employment agreement also.
Catherine, I do have one question regarding point B under 59.6, the residency requirement. Is it contained within the ordinance, which I haven't had a chance to check, the time limit by which a person shall become a resident of either the city or the school district?
Yeah.
So we need not say it again here.
That's on the next page. I did reproduce the whole codes, the chapter for you so you could see it. They generally have a year to comply, and can, if they need an extension, they would need to come to the council requesting that type of extension. The idea behind school district is that it's a wider community, so if you have someone who's in the area already and just not within the city limits in terms of response time or community sense of pride and involvement, it probably would extend to the school district as well as the city. And then it's up to you. I mean, residency requirements are certainly legal in Wisconsin. It's just whether you think it's a good thing to have.
Well, go ahead.
Suspend the rules.
We have a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second
Is there a
that.
second? Seconded. A roll call vote.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Morissette?
Yes.
Brokaw?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Move to adopt, after discussion, ordinance 7-08.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 708. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Discussion.
There are two reasons why I feel we don't need to prolong the process here by first and second reading. One is that through the process of annexation over the past decade, we've moved the city limits pretty darn close to the limits of the school district anyway. And secondly, it would bring everything into line, particularly the Director of Public Works and Parks, which is on our closed session agenda for later tonight. So I thought this would be putting the horse before the cart.
Other comments? If you'd indulge me, I'd like to comment about the department head residency one, because actually I asked that that be put on as long as we were opening up section 59 to be looked at. The rest of it I looked at as pretty much housekeeping. Some of the housekeeping long overdue. The mandatory retirement age was adopted in 1966, and that's probably a concept that's been gone for about 20 years now already. And so we continue to do cleanup here as we go through the code book and various issues come up. We're trying to not just deal with the issue of the day, but go through the section and see if there are other things. And recently when we were hiring, this question of residency came up. We had, I believe, over 20 applications for the Parks and Public Works Director position. In the end, that was narrowed down to 10, and of the 10, I think 8 of them lived in Hudson, but not necessarily in the city of Hudson. We had some applicants that lived in Hudson and are longtime Hudson residents, but they live, town of Troy, town of Hudson, so on. They live in the Hudson School District. And it really made me stop and think, is this something that makes sense? We want to recruit top talented individuals to work for the city. The basis on this was put into place was the concept that you need to be available for emergencies, and that it helps foster a community spirit if you live under the rules that you're enforcing on everyone else. And there's some validity to that. But at the same time, the more I thought about it, I thought, well, what's changed since this was put into place 20-some years ago is that, all our department heads have cell phones now. And so if you're really on your way to an emergency and you've got to go to City Hall or somewhere else in the city as a department head, you can already start doing the business of what you're going to do when you get there already on your way there. So I think an extra 5 minutes of travel really has become less significant than it used to be when that wasn't the case. And so we did a little kind of a brief research and what was it, Chippewa Falls has done it this way?
Falls had the school district.
The school district for a while, and that made some
40
sense
some
to me
years.
because I think the community identity, the community spirit is still there if you live in the school district. So if this makes sense to you and you're ready to adopt that part of it, go ahead. I'm not trying to ram that through here without discussion. I'd be happy enough to separate that part of it out if you think it needs more work, but to me, I think it's time to maybe loosen that up a little bit. So I guess we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Lori?
I would just add the comment that to ask someone to move from the town of Hudson a half a mile into the city in a market where it's difficult to sell homes is a real hardship, and I think could minimize our pool of qualified candidates. So I'm in total agreement with this change.
Well, Laurie, your point is very well taken, and you are correct. The mayor did somewhat argue against his own point, though, by saying that we want top-flight, top-notch capable people, and the fact that they've chosen to live in somewhere else other than the city of Hudson impugns their character.
No comment.
Andy? Yeah, anything?
No, I think your comment about cell phones is valid. You know, that certainly would be important. And for another 5 minutes, I think it's time to visit the ordinance and make a change.
All right. Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the ordinance is adopted. Next is another code amendment. It's, to consider amending Municipal Code Chapter 145-20 B3 regarding fermented malt beverage and intoxicating liquor license quota restrictions, and it is ordinance number 8-08.
Move to suspend the rules.
They're quick now. We have a motion to suspend the rules towards adoption of 8-08. Is there a second?
A second.
Roll call vote.
Bernard?
Yes.
Brokaw?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Forsythe?
Yes.
Okay, the rules are suspended. Maybe we should hear briefly from the city attorney about this.
Sure. This is basically to bring the ordinance into consistency with the practice. It came to our attention that the softball association license, 6-month license out in the park, has always been kind of considered its own separate thing. If you'll notice in the code, it's also exempt from the restaurant requirement for beer licenses, and it's never been considered as part of the quota for beer licenses. And so, just to make it clear, we thought the ordinance should show that. So the way we're doing that is just in paragraph 3 to say that that quota does not apply to the 6-month Class B fermented beverage license currently issued to a nonprofit corporation operating concession stand in a municipal park. That's the language that is also used in exempting it from the restaurant requirement. I did put in my memo that generally I don't favor, and it's not just me, it's preferable not to have ordinance language that's specifically addressing one circumstance. This is a different circumstance. I mean, it's a unique circumstance. I wasn't, there's good arguments for saying, okay, it's just a different thing. It's a softball association selling beer at a park for 6 months. It's not a regular for-profit business selling liquor or beer for 6 months. So, but I did put in my memo, you could go either way. You could decide to just maintain the status quo, which is what this ordinance does, or you could decide that the 6 months any 6-month license should not be subject to the quota. I set it up because the reason it came to our attention was to maintain the status quo. So that's the way the ordinance reads. If you want to do something different, we need to change the language.
Move to adopt the ordinance as written, ordinance 8-08.
We have a motion to adopt 808. Is there a second?
I'll second for purpose of discussion. So the exemption would only apply to a nonprofit organization
On
operating in
city
the city.
property.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Let's see where we're at here. Skip closed session for now and do the rest and finish, okay? Communications and recommendations of the mayor. I have three things. Appointments. I'd like to ask that Jim Pribble be reappointed to the Public Utility Commission for a 5-year term from 2008 to 2013. Jim's been on the Water Board for a long time, has served with distinction there, and would like to continue. We have a resignation from the Plan Commission, and so I'd like to appoint Mary Claire Olson to the remainder of a 3-year term. Will expire in 2010 on the Plan Commission. And for the Police and Fire Commission, Mr. Garrity resigned there, and so for the remainder of a 5-year term through 2010 to appoint Mary Yakub to that position.
So moved.
A second.
We have a motion. Was there a second? And a second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed say no. And those appointments are confirmed. We received a commemorative U.S. flag that was flown over Baghdad from, it came from one of our mooring, what do you call a mooring resident? A mooring user. And this flag was carried aloft on a combat mission number 122021 over Iraq, and then was flown later over Baghdad. And so we appreciate that, and we'll find a place to display that here in City Hall. And then lastly, I put in your packet an update on the room tax receipts and distributions. I've been doing this quarterly, so this is the update after the third quarter receipts came in. And receipts were above budget by a few $1,000, so they've been strong. The third quarter was strong for lodging in Hudson. And you can see the disbursements. And that's just an update for you. I would like to say, Betty, maybe you can help me with the numbers. I should have prepared you ahead of time. Can you start thinking about the checks that we wrote to our other municipalities for the closure of the TID districts? Put your thinking hat on for a minute. But over the past couple of weeks, when did those checks go out? About 2 weeks ago, we delivered checks, the final accounting of the closure of tax increment district number 4, the St. Croix Business Park District. I think it's something to be proud of. The municipalities, the school district received how much?
School district got approximately almost $1.8 million.
And then the county received?
The county was about $780,000. The VOTEC was around $250,000, and the city had $1.1 million.
Okay, so as a result of that, you've probably seen that there have been a variety of choices for what to do with those funds. I've suggested that we put ours aside, either use it to pay down debt or put it in a segregated fund for future capital improvements and not spend it. We're going to do our best to keep taxes low this year without spending that money. But I think the impact of that money is being felt right now as the mill rates are set. Those various different governments are appreciative of it, and so thank you for doing the accounting on that. Thank Denny for all that he's done in the business park. I'm going to have the entire business park board and all the past members of the business park come to one of our next meetings for some recognition. So anyway, thank you, Betty.
Yep.
Reports of city officials, boards, and commissions. You had an update in your packet from Devin. What others do we have? We have Community Development Director report. Any questions for Denny on his? Okay. Any alderperson? City attorney?
Nope.
Go ahead.
Real briefly, on behalf of Nancy and I, we want to very gratefully thank the over 60 election workers that helped us out both on November 4th and the weeks leading up to it. We registered over 1,500 new voters, and over the course of absentee and regular, over 7,000 people were able to cast ballots. A lot having to do with those election workers, and Pam being one of them. Very long hours. I think it went fairly smoothly. There are always little snags here and there. We'd also like to thank the city staff because they put a lot of time in prior to that, taking absentee ballots, registering people, working extra hours. We'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge one of our election workers who passed away, Raleigh Becker. Worked for many, many, many years as an election worker, all 3 polling places. Ironically, he died shortly after the polls closed on election day, which was a little scary. On behalf of the city, we'd like to extend our sympathies to his family, and he'll be missed by both the city staff and the election workers. So we just wanted to make that acknowledgement. And that's all I have. And I have my report here if you have questions. I will be emailing everybody, hopefully in the next couple of days, for you to come down and pick up your budget packets. We're waiting on one number from the county, so hopefully. And Betty said she has it, so we should have that next day or so for you. Thank you.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
Move to go into closed session.
We have a motion
Second.
to go into closed session for purposes of review and improve employment contract and hiring of a Public Works and Parks Director pursuant to Section 19.851C of Wisconsin statutes. All in favor, say aye.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Morset?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Burchell? Oh, sorry. Bernard?
Yes.
Brokaw?
Yes.
Motion carries. We'll convene in closed session in 5 minutes.